Daniel Green, you kind of have a really interesting story. You're a racer, drag and drive. You've kind of you just went right into racing 100%.
Yeah.
Let's just get right into it. So what's your story of getting into the racing lately? Because I know you have a pretty crazy one, right?
So 3 years ago, well, we'll rewind. I never grew up racing. Like, racing wasn't in my blood. It wasn't something I grew up in. But 3 years ago, I turned 30, and I had a life moment where I was like, what the heck am I doing up here in Hermiston, Oregon, trying to do something, as Hermiston, Oregon is like a hole, really. Mm-hmm. And I had a 12-valve Cummins diesel truck, and I went to the track a couple times, and I enjoyed it. It was fun. And then, like I said, I had just a life moment, and I just wanted to just get outside the box, you know. And
so you said like 30 years old. Was it kind of like an epiphany? Did you pay one bill and you were like, this is not how I want to be? Like,
it was pretty much like that, because what a lot of people don't know is I own a logistics company, and I work remotely, and I was working from home building my company for like 3 years, and I basically confined myself to an apartment for 3 years to build this company. And I turned 30. I had a life moment, and I said, I don't want to continuously live in this apartment and not go out and enjoy life. Mm-hmm. So I sold everything I own. I bought a 44-foot race car trailer and a truck and a race truck, and I set out right when COVID happened.
Was it like right before, or was it like a bad accident?
Well, it was before.
Bad timing, I guess you would say.
Yeah, so it was, 2019? So September of 2019, I started manifesting this idea to go on this road trip. Mm-hmm. And I went out and sold the idea to a whole bunch of sponsors, and I gathered up a ton of money and to help build the race truck and fund the trip. But come December, the race truck was almost done. In January, February, February is when everything started, going a little bit wacky.
Domino one kind of fell.
And then March came, and March was when I was supposed to set sail, and everything started getting shut down. And I had a schedule, I had everything set up, and event one after another started getting canceled. And imagine, you go out and crowdfund a trip, you got these people's money that you promised advertising for, and you can't advertise for them.
Were you kind of like, when you approached these sponsors, did you already have like a name with them, or was this like, hey, you don't know me.
You don't know me. I don't know you.
So this was like full, just like throwing into the wind, like hoping, throwing a dart at the dartboard, hoping in a way.
I sat in front of my computer for 5 to 6 hours a day, emailing and Facebook messaging people with the idea that I'm going to go out and do this road trip, and a once in a lifetime opportunity road trip. Yeah. Will you want to be in on it? And more people said yes than I thought. And that was the scary part, because you made a commitment to people that you're going to go out and do this.
For sure.
And then all of a sudden you don't, or all of a sudden the opportunity was taken away from me.
Yep. Yeah, it was a natural disaster issue where it wasn't your fault or anything like that. Right. And I always like say I'll lose all of my own money, but if I lose the sponsor's money, it's like that hurts more.
Oh, for sure.
Like my money, like whatever. Like,
yeah.
We're racers. Like it costs as much as you have anyways.
Right. We're definitely not in it for the profit.
Yeah.
That's for
sure.
At
least you had like a business that you could continually kind of work from home and keep doing.
Right.
But then once it becomes real and that first sponsor check, I guess, comes in, what were you like? What was step one? So you got your sponsor check, Were you building the truck? Was a shop building the truck?
So I partnered with a shop in Hermiston to help build the truck. And so I strongly believe that everybody has their own forte in life, and building stuff is not mine.
Yeah.
Like, I'll manage it, I'll work on it, but that guy's better at building race cars and race trucks than I ever would be. And in the long term, I think it'd be cheaper to hire a professional to do something than myself. So,
well, you said you had an apartment at the time.
Yeah.
So you weren't going to go out there, buy every tool you need, buy every freaking wire crimper you need.
Right.
I don't blame anybody when they don't fully build their own car from scratch, because we're not all fabricators, wirers, and
I've never welded in my life.
Exactly. And a lot of people, like you guys, were just at the Pro Mod race this weekend.
Yeah.
Those chassis all come from someone.
They're all come from someone.
Built from the ground up.
Right. They're not all garage built. That's
exactly.
for sure.
Yeah. So then you were kind of in this weird spot. What was your problem solving? I guess you say you work in logistics. What were you like? Okay, how do I go from here? How do I evolve this?
Well, as the world event started unraveling, I fell into a little bit of depression, honestly, because I'm a man of my word, and if I tell someone I'm going to go out and advertise for them and I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I have it taken away from me, like, it was hard, But so I pinpointed an event in Lyons, Indiana, in the middle of this. It's an 1/8 mile racetrack in the middle of 2 cornfields, and it was already on my schedule to go. And I literally called the guy every single week and ensured that he was going to have his event. And he says, "Yeah, dude, we're in the middle of 2 cornfields. There's no one's going to shut us down." And that was 2,100 miles away from home. So
that's a big commitment.
Right.
And especially being on the empty roads at that time.
Yeah, empty roads. There's, away from home. And when I started to go out on this trip, I'm not extremely mechanically inclined, so I didn't have a lot of tools. But I went to Home Depot and bought a 800-piece toolkit.
Yep.
I was like, this is going to get me down.
This is what I need.
This is what's going to get me down the road. And so I took my Home Depot toolkit and I traveled 2,100 miles to this race, and I blew the head gasket the second pass out.
Okay, so, I mean, it is a 12 valve, though. They can run with rods hanging out the side of the block.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Yeah.
You can still freaking tow home with a car that's got a blown head gasket.
It is true.
But
that is true.
I can understand how that probably take a little wind out of the sails on that one.
I went and sat in a trailer for a few hours to gather myself, you know?
So you made it to the race, though, because
Yeah.
that's actually most people's biggest issue is actually showing up on property is half of the battle with any race.
Yeah.
Shoot, I've won more races than I can count by just being there.
That's true. That is
it's
true.
weird. Sometimes if you could just keep going rounds and shoot, a head gasket ain't going to stop you from pulling up to the next round if you had to.
Yeah, if I had to, I would just drain all the coolant out and run it,
Yeah.
But, so anyways, long story short is, we got through that portion of the journey, but I still felt like I got robbed, of the opportunity, because I didn't get to fully experience the road trip.
Yeah.
So here we are 3 years into this road trip. We're still on the road, guys.
Yeah. So now you've made it all the way across country to Florida.
To Florida, yeah.
You're almost coast to coast at this point. Have you thought about just popping over there, maybe dip your feet in the ocean just to make sure you're 100% coast to coast?
Yeah.
Because you're right there.
We're almost there. We're almost there. Yeah, maybe I'll have to stop by Cocoa Beach. And
you're right there. I mean, the coast to coast. I got Arnie's plate over here. That's coast to coast.
There we go. We go.
He did it during COVID also.
Wow.
So it's pretty similar story on that. He he saw it as an opportunity where it kind of actually shot you in the foot, which is weird.
Yeah.
How those two stories kind of line out, I guess.
But he didn't have traffic.
No, that's why he saw it as the opportunity.
Right.
He was like, this is the perfect time.
Yeah.
Everybody has to stay home. I'm going to go break a record.
That's interesting.
So your truck, then let's go back to that. So
Yeah.
you had this thing fully built. Like, I've seen some photos of it. I haven't really seen much of it. What's the details on that?
The first edition of the truck was a 12-valve Cummins. It was compound turbo setup, about 1,000 horsepower. But it became really unreliable the first year. And I was always wrenching and working on it. And then I showed up to the ice cream cruise.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like, it was all or nothing there.
Well, so the truck, though, I just want to try to get a little more details on it. This is like a nearly tube chassis looking truck. Like, isn't it like the bed sides are cut out and everything? Like, it's like not just like some heavy 12-valve. Like, it's actually like a race truck.
You could say that.
It looked like it, at least.
It has an 850 cage in it. It has fiberglass bed sides, a fiberglass hood. The only thing that's steel is the cab. So, yeah, I could say it was a race truck.
Yeah. What kind of power was that thing putting out then?
It was conservatively like 1,000 horsepower.
Okay, so 1,000 horsepower, probably what, 1,500 foot-pounds of torque-ish?
Yeah, 1,800.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like some slouch, like we're talking about like a seriously built race vehicle.
It was. We were set out to do some pretty cool stuff with it, you know, and I had high hopes of winning all the events I went to. So.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to portray to people that are listening, like the actual caliper of this truck, because some people may be thinking it's like,
oh, like old farm truck.
Yeah, exactly. Like
no, it was big. It's big tire. You know, it has 32 inch tall slicks, 14 inch wide.
Did it have a 9-inch in the back, or was it still?
No, it had the Dana
still
60.
The Dana?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we prayed every time I let off the trans brake.
Yeah, those things are heavy too.
Yeah.
Pumpkin is like the size of freaking like a beach ball.
Yeah. No, they're heavy. That truck went across the scales like 4,000 pounds still.
I mean, that's pretty reasonable though for. Yeah. I mean, I imagine it probably still had the frame rails from.
Yeah. Yep.
Most of the frame rails, at least.
No, it had full frame.
Oh, full frame.
Yeah,
I didn't know if it was cut like after the bed or something.
Nope, it was full frame.
Okay, so it was pretty heavy then, I guess. Yeah, 4,000 pounds. That's a lot of drag and drive cars, though. That's about the weight of quite a few of the drag and drives that I know. Yeah. And you can tow with it safely.
We'll get into that, but our towing did not go very well.
so then you make it to Ice Cream Cruise.
Yeah.
And that's your first time around the 1320 guys, I imagine?
Yeah, that was, when I was at home crowdfunding and messaging everyone, obviously I messaged Fred and Kyle, and I told them the story. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And Fred, he's like, well, I'll see you sometime this year. And I was like, okay. So I showed up to the ice cream cruise, and that was my first interaction with the 1320 guys. So
yeah, and then they were kind of that's an interesting event for people that don't know. It's very like there's roll racing, there's a little bit of like no prep 8th mile drag racing, and then there's a big car show.
Huge car show.
The car show there is unreal, and it's all a charity event. Kyle donates all the money. Yeah. I love Ice Cream Cruise. If there's one event in the Midwest to go to, it's that one.
And that just gives me chills, man, because that event literally changed my life.
Really?
Yeah.
So it kickstarted the ability to finally fulfill some of those marketing obligations, I guess.
Fulfill the marketing obligations, but also to get traction online and to the masses and show people that I'm out here doing this, you know, and some people took me as a joke, but like I said, I'm a man of what I say I'm going to do, I'm going to do it. So
yeah, so you pull into Ice Cream Cruise. How did that kind of go?
I pulled in Ice Cream Cruise, and I was overwhelmed by, you know, the caliper of it, and I made a couple passes, and Fred comes up on the golf cart and sticks a camera in my face and starts talking to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on, you know? And that was the moment where I said, it's all or nothing, guys, you know. And I was talking to myself. I said, this is it. We have to make our mark here at the ice cream cruise, or we're going to pack it up and go home. So I made a couple passes. I didn't make the top. I think it's like top 32 or something like that. I didn't make it into the race. So I said, hey, I got some spare tires over here. I'm going to join the Burnout contest. I was like, I got to get more camera time. I got to get more time in front of these people. What am I going to do? And so I was like, I'll just sign up for the Burnout contest. How hard's Burnout, you know?
Yeah.
1,000 horsepower truck, you know.
Should spin them easy.
Pro mod, well, you know, it shouldn't be too bad.
What's the transmission and gearing in that thing?
It was a built 48 RE and stock gear, stock rear end.
Like a
350.
350?
Yeah,
okay.
it's like
I'm just wondering because
351.
my Burnout mind starts to kick in and I'm like, how much wheel speed can you get? How easy is it to overheat one of those trans with no load?
The problem wasn't the transmission though. The problem was we ended up blowing the motor in the Burnout box. I think I was third or fourth gear for a minute and a half, and that ended up putting oil all over everything. But they hold plenty of oil, so it makes sense. So we pushed it out of the Burnout box after a minute and a half burnout, and we pushed it off to the side, and Fred comes over and he's like, man, that was a heck of a burnout. And I was like, yeah, it was great. And I looked over and I was like, oh, the valve, because the 12 valves have individual valve covers over each rocker set. Yeah. And one of the valve cover gaskets blew out. And I was like, oh, Fred, it's just a valve cover gasket. I'll go back out there. Well, it wasn't. It turned out to be the rods and everything else. But long story short, that was my turning point when it came to social media.
So it got the traction finally that was needed from going to an event like that.
Right.
And then that kind of helped snowball the whole, I guess, marketing side of what you were trying to do.
Right.
And I'm sure the sponsors do appreciate the Burnout because,
oh, for sure.
Ironically, those have probably the biggest crowd standing around them anyways.
Currently, yeah.
So it's kind of funny. And then everybody likes a diesel truck doing a Burnout.
Right.
Add some fuel to it and just kind of roll coal.
Yeah, and every like you said, everyone enjoyed it. And the sponsors enjoyed the publicity that they got out of it. And like I said, that just kind of kicked off the whole social media thing, and I've just been going at it, ever since then. Yeah. So where do you go from there? So do you pack up, head back to the shop that built it, and you're like, okay, we got to put a new motor in this thing? No, the next morning I woke up and I walked out and the truck was still blown up. I thought it was a dream, Yeah. The truck was still blown up. I was like, shoot, still about 2,100 miles away from home. I got a blown up truck now. I'm living in a 40-foot car trailer. What am I going to do? So I got on social media and I made a couple posts and I said, hey, I need another 12-valve engine. And a guy messaged me from Texas. He says, hey, I got an engine. You show up down here and we'll get you an engine all set up and we'll get you ready to go. So I went down to Texas, got another engine, and continued on the journey that year with the 12-valve. I did a couple more races and went and seen some more people and stuff like that. So yeah, what was it running then in that truck would run like a 670 in the eighth. So okay, that's pretty healthy for like 950. All things considered, and a stock unopened 12-valve. Pretty much, yeah. At that point, with a lot of fuel, a bunch of turbo, a lot of fuel and a lot of turbo. Yeah, what kind of boost pressure are you seeing on that thing then? Like 70 pounds of boost on those. Yeah, so about my 6-cylinder too. I see about 70, and then we throw some nitrous on top of it because exactly. It helps cool the charge temperature. That's what I tell people. But what's a race vehicle without nitrous though? Exactly. If you have a turbo and no nitrous, it's kind of like exactly. That's you want to throw a little bit on top of there just to get the party started. You just got to sprinkle a little bit of nitrous into it. Exactly. I took Fred for a ride yesterday in the car, and I was thinking about turning the bottle on. I was like, maybe I should open the bottle up. You should. Just because, you don't have to put your foot on the gas for as long before you spool. Right. It's just a little adder.
It's the pick-me-up.
Yeah.
It's the coffee.
Yeah.
If you will. So, and then you're in Texas at that point, and you've done a drag and drive with it, haven't you?
Yeah, so I kind of took about a month or so to regroup, and I had the opportunity to go to Rocky Mountain Race Week, and that was another turning point to my... Honestly, I would say the drag and drive community and the drag and drive event was the feather in the cap. It was the catapult, the slingshot to the next level on the internet. Really.
Yeah, those guys are unreal with that community and everything. And Matt Frost does such a good job at putting those events on in such like a family atmosphere that they've built, like him and June.
Yeah,
and really a testament to what they've done.
And the drag and drive community, I feel, has adopted me to a certain degree. You know, I didn't participate in 1.0 of last year, but as you stated, you know, it's a family, you know, and I didn't have a vehicle to go into 2.0 last year, so I recruited a friend to go with me, and we took his 3,000 horsepower diesel pickup out on Rocky Mountain Race Week last year. So. Oh,
okay. So you were
co-piloting.
Yeah. And so you convinced a guy to bring his vehicle out there for you to co-pilot when you've claimed that you don't have mechanical skill.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I just told him, I was like, "Hey, dude,
you're good at convincing people." Clearly.
Yeah, I was like, it was in February and I messaged him and I was like, "Hey, dude, you got a lot of," because he just broke the chassis dyno record in November of 3,000 horsepower. And there was a whole bunch of like, "Oh no, that was BS. You didn't do that, blah, blah, blah." And so February came around and the tickets were coming up available. And I was like, "Hey dude, if I can get us a ticket, do you want to go?" I was like, "This would be a great opportunity, a great storyline for your brand also."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Heck yeah, I'll go." So we ended up taking his truck out this last year.
What's the story on that truck then? You said 3,000 horsepower. Is that also inline six?
Yep. But it's inline six, but it's a common rail, so it's electronically fueled.
That's what I've heard. Common rail is king.
Dude, it's the way to go. It's the way to go.
That's what everybody says.
It just makes things so much easier.
Yeah, like, tuning is actually like
you can actually tune it.
You can actually tune it instead of just kind of like tuning a carburetor, I guess. It
is like tuning a carburetor on a 12 valve.
Yeah, you're just adjusting fuel. You're not really doing much more.
Yeah, it just depends. Like, if you like wrenching, 12 valve's the way to go. If you like to punch keys on a keyboard, common rail's the way to go.
Yeah, so that makes sense. And even so what size displacement then is the common rail?
6.7.
Okay, so it's 6.7. So it's big displacement too.
Yeah,
and that's huge.
So the 12 valve is only a 5.9.
Yeah, that's massive displacement difference. So even just there,
you pick up a lot.
So your drag and drive then, trials and tribulations. I want to hear a little bit about what it's like to drag and drive a diesel vehicle making 3,000 horsepower. Like, what class were you in? What did it do all week?
So we'll rewind to my first time doing drag and drive. So we took the Pro Mod truck out on drag and drive. I was like, it's a diesel truck. It's going to be reliable. Nothing's going to go wrong. You know, it can pull a trailer easily, obviously, right?
It should on paper.
Yeah. It didn't turn out that way. We changed the transmission fluid in the filter probably 9 times that week. The converter was just coming apart. Oh man. Every time you would come to a gas station, dude, I was underneath the truck changing the trans fluid.
Did the lockup have issues or something? Was it just like cooking it?
No, it was just a lot of clutch material and a lot of shavings were coming through, and it was plugging the filter.
So it was probably slipping a little bit too, making it hot while you're driving. That would probably raise temperature. I don't know how much data you get on this. I'm just guessing.
At that level, there wasn't a lot of data.
Yeah.
It was more like we were using our 5 senses to kind of feel what was going on.
That's how I race too. Very little data.
Very little data, but if you could smell or touch, then that would be the way to go.
Yeah,
you know.
You kind of look under there. Is the converter steaming yet?
Is it dripping fluid? Nope.
Is the paint chipping off of it? Is it that hot?
Right.
Okay, so you're driving through the mountains now at this point.
No, we did 2.0.
Okay, 2.0. So you're driving through
Oklahoma.
horrible scenery.
Yeah.
Flat plains, terrible roads.
Yes, in a Pro Mod truck.
In a Pro Mod pickup truck.
And we're talking about my truck, not the 3,000 horsepower truck. And I just had a whole bunch of transmission issues. But I finished, you know, the last, it almost didn't break the beams, but you know, we ended up finishing. And like I said, that the drag and drive community kind of really adopted me at that point, and I felt the desire to bring in another person into the community. And I think you would agree, like, inviting someone into that community it's not easy because it is a family, you know? And so you just don't want to bring in anybody. So I reached out to Chris Patterson. He, like I said, he just broke the 3,000 horsepower record.
Yep.
So I was like, well, what better person to take on 2.0 this last year? So.
And they're always looking for people with unique setups.
Yeah.
And 1320 loves that kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, not everybody can be out there with an LS Fox body, and it'd be interesting for video.
Yeah, for sure.
So they're always kind of hoping for the unique setups. So day one, you're going through tech. Somebody comes up and interviews you on your drag and drive. What do you say your goals are?
To make it through the week.
Okay. I didn't know if you were like, oh, I have a goal of, 650 average or 7.0 average, because
again, I'm not a racer. I didn't grow up racing, so going down the track is just 6 seconds of fun, really. You know. So I set it out to just finish the event, and that's a hard deal.
That's tough in itself. But me and Fred were talking about yesterday's podcast where he talks to people on day one and they have like this high goal that they set, and then day 3 he talks to them again and they're like, I just want to make it back to my trailer. Like you quickly start to deteriorate your goals until your goals are like, I just want to make it to the hotel. And that's kind of how it works in that thing. Like in tech, you could go through like, oh, I'm gonna set the world on fire out here, and then it humbles you really quickly.
It does. And so with Chris Patterson, we read the rules, and I guess the rules state in Rowdy Radial, 8th mile, most diesel racing is 8th mile.
Yep.
So, and the rules state that anything all-wheel drive can run slicks.
Okay.
So we said, well, heck, we're used to running 8th mile, and we have a set of slicks, so why not just jump into Rowdy Radial? So that's what we did. I think we ran like a 590 or so average that week, but we had a bunch of troubles with the 3,000 horsepower truck also.
I mean,
so,
as
transmission
one does,
issues, transmission issues,
Dodge stuff,
more
using OEM Dodge parts.
Yep.
I've never even owned a Dodge, and I've actually broken 3 68 RFEs in my life, and I've never owned a Dodge.
You would think that they would outsource that project, or they would outsource transmissions like they do the engine, and try to be reliable for the consumer.
You can buy the ASIN, I think it is, for like the heavy duty ASIN transmission, which is the right one to get if you have a truck with a 68 RFE. It's probably gonna let go at some point.
Just depends on who you talk to, but they both have their issues. They both have their issues, but anyways, so we went out with his truck and we completed it. But back to what you're saying is people start day one and they're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna do all this cool stuff and run all these times. The breaking point really is day 3. Going into like day 4, like the night of day 3, if that's kind of the breaking point of where you're like, this really sucks and I got to push through it, or you're having a joyful time, So.
Yeah, because like I've seen the people that are breezing through it. Yeah. And I'm so jealous of them because it's always difficult. I mean, they make it look easy, I'm sure, but it's difficult for all of us. And day 3 is definitely that like turning point where you realize like you've turned in a couple slips by now.
Yeah.
You know if you're gonna have just like a terrible average.
Right.
And you already know like things are starting to fail in your car. If you know your car pretty well, you're like, that doesn't sound right. I don't like that noise, that smell. Like things are starting to come apart.
When I went out with my 12-valve truck, was that a chicken?
Yeah.
There's chickens outside.
They want to be involved in the video.
Anyways, when I went out with my truck, I have fiberglass bedsides. The bedsides fell off the truck. The Oklahoma roads literally broke the mounts, and I looked in the rearview mirror, and the bedside's like over in the other lane. It was just
like hanging off the truck. Like, it was flapping, catching wind.
And it was funny because my brother, he looked back, he's like, the bedside's falling off now.
Yeah.
And it was funny.
And what do you go about with that? Because like you can't just like, okay, I'll take it off and leave it on my trailer. Like then you kind of have to ratchet strap it on, zip tie it.
We zip tied the bedsides, like the mounts. We like drilled a hole in the frame and like stuck the mount back through, and then drilled a hole into the mount and stuck a zip tie through it so it couldn't like pull out of the frame.
Yeah. The one thing that always gets me a little envious on the diesel stuff is you don't have to worry about fuel. Everywhere's got the same fuel.
Yes.
Like even with my car, like 93 varies a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Like a huge variation. If I drive 4 hours north, that 93 may not be the same. That gas station might not have the same.
Very much true. But we do run into problems because the diesels depend on nitrous a lot.
Yeah.
So we definitely have to, we have that problem of not having enough nitrous to last us through the week.
Yeah, I got to watch my buddy Wyatt, obviously, kind of struggle through his diesel journey a little bit.
That was impressive.
His truck is awesome.
Yeah.
And it kind of really, I think, gave a good showing of what an all-wheel drive diesel can do.
Oh, absolutely.
And especially, like, he kind of has smooth sailings driving and everything. But I don't know, the diesel stuff for drag and drive seems great. And some drag and drives allow nitrous fill-ups in the pits.
Right.
I don't know if Rocky Mountain Race Week had anybody filling them up.
On both of our events that I attended, I don't recall filling nitrous at the...
Yeah, so what are you looking for, speed shops?
Speed shops, or usually, like on Rocky Mountain Race Week, you only use very minimal to spool on. You use a spool jet, and then the rest of it, you just run fuel.
Running 8th mile helps a lot.
Yeah.
If you're trying to spray through the quarter, would be a real tough deal.
That'd be tough, and it'd use a lot of your resources. On drag and drives, it's about rationing your resources to make it to the end.
Yeah. So do you have any plans to kind of get it back out for another one?
Yeah. So currently the truck is back. My truck is back in Washington, and we are rewiring the truck. And we are actually turning it back into more of a street trim type of truck. We're going to put a full bed back on it, obviously a gutted bed, a gutted tailgate, put a dash in it, a real dash, and put a 10 Soldiers rear end in it.
Okay.
4-linked, and
cut some frame rail off of it a little bit.
Cut a little bit.
Tubes in there instead. Save a little weight.
To a certain point, like race cars have gotten so fast that it's hard to be competitive in a diesel truck. If you want to go out and be competitive on no prep in a diesel truck, you got to run like 530.
Yeah.
A reliable 530 in a diesel truck it's going to cost you money.
Yeah, that's a really big ask.
Yeah.
For a diesel truck to do that. And
consecutively.
Yeah, exactly. And with the amount of nose weight on them too, is a pretty tough deal.
Yeah.
But they are perfect for drag and drives because the fastest car doesn't really matter as much in drag and drives. It may matter to the fastest guy.
Right.
But you're kind of in your own world in that.
Yeah.
You're kind of have tunnel vision in a drag and drive where you're just focused on like
on yourself. To a certain point, but then when the guy's pulled over on the side of the road, you're like, all right, dude, we got to pull over and help you out a little bit.
But like when the ladder, like with the racing sheet.
Oh, right.
Like you're just focused on like your own lane, your own
your own time, and trying to get all that.
Like I know my average, and I didn't really care about too much else.
That is true.
Yeah, you get that tunnel vision effect where it's like you're just at the World Series of Pro Mod, and you got to focus entirely on what the other guys got going on.
Right.
Like just as much as your deal.
Track conditions from noon to 3, how much they change, and drag and drive, we don't really worry too much about that. We just try to get our pass in for the day and hit the road.
Well, sick week, we got so lucky because the race tracks in Bradenton are in Florida and Georgia are so good.
Yeah.
And they're such radial prepped tracks.
Right.
Whereas if you compare it to a, Rocky Mountain Race Week where you're in high elevation, somewhat marginal tracks.
Yeah.
The fast guys aren't going to get down, and the big tire cars almost don't even mean anything in Florida.
That's true.
Because the small tire cars are on them constantly.
That is true. This last sick week, there was some fast stuff.
Yeah, I think out of the top 3, 2 of them or one of them was a radial car, so
that's impressive.
Kind of makes you think the radial world, ignite barrel pop. It's like a thermometer. It knows once it's starting to get warm.
That's our cue.
Yeah. So you guys were just at World Series of Pro Mod too then?
Yeah. So this year I am focusing on rebuilding my race program. I also have a car. I don't know if you know about that, but I have an 89 Dodge Colt that's 4G63 swapped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm working on rebuilding the race truck. But this year I'm kind of stepping away from actually racing myself to go out and chase some pro mod action. So
so you're gonna kind of go cover some stuff. Yep. And there's a lot of pro mod action to chase this year.
Yeah, working on staying relevant, but capturing other people's moments.
Yeah. Well, so I guess then you were out there, and the front wheel drive stuff was probably pretty alluring then as well.
That was interesting. That was interesting.
It's a weird combo, but they kind of also work. Together.
Yeah, to see a rusted out 89 Civic going 7s was like, holy smokes. That
racing is crazy too because it really is roll the dice.
It is.
Bad launches happen all the time.
Yeah.
Bad trees happen all the time. Anything can really happen in the front wheel drive stuff.
Yeah, and you guys may have seen it or not, but so the final round, it was the rusted out 89 Civic. Yep. And it was a neatly wrapped 94 Civic. And the rusted guy, he staged and timed out the nicer car beside him. And the rusted Civic ended up oiling down the whole track. And his team was looking around. They just won $20,000.
And nobody was cheering.
They didn't even know what happened. They're like, what just happened? Didn't even, because the other guy timed out, so he got a red light.
Yeah.
And the rusted Civic was his team, they're not cheering or anything, and they're like, what's going on? They're more worried about him oiling down the track. They just won $20,000.
So I didn't get to see that last pass, so he had both bulbs lit. And the other guy couldn't get his second bulb lit?
Correct.
Okay. I didn't know if he had double bulbed him, I guess.
No. They were both staged, and then the rusted Civic, he staged, turned on second bulb, and the other guy, I don't know what was going on.
So he just sat there on the two-step.
He just sat there, and the starter flipped the switch.
You only get 7 seconds in that deal.
Yep, and that was it.
Oh man, that's a really unfortunate
in the
way to go
finals
out.
For $20,000,
and then to also blow up and oil it down.
Yeah, but he had $20,000 in his pocket.
Yeah, but the guy that was supposed to race after him didn't.
Yeah, that's true.
And Wade, who has to get back on the tractor.
That was the second time he cleaned up after the rusted car. Too.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be a meeting about.
Yeah, Wade, I don't think was very happy, and it was later in the evening too. So it was 7:30, 8 o'clock. So
when there's only a couple cars left to go, so at that point you're cleaning up for 5 pairs, maybe. And then I couldn't even believe to see the bottom 16 cars. Melanie went just as fast as the first place guy.
Yeah.
Legitimately, that would have been a awesome drag race.
Yeah.
Which is insane that between 50 some odd cars, the spread was so close that
this last weekend
it doesn't even matter.
This last weekend, the way that they had that race structured, it was really impressive because the guy that was the fastest didn't win.
Yeah.
You know, in the pro mod side, the guy that was the slowest, he barely got into the 32 car field. He ended up going home with $100,000.
Yep.
Because he was consistent and he had his program together, but he was consistent to go A to B.
And he was consistently getting faster throughout the night.
Yeah.
Like, they made the correct decisions to get the car to go faster as it cooled down.
Yeah.
And they read the track right.
Yep.
And then Melanie went the exact same, basically the exact same ET. I think it was 364 with an O.
Yeah.
They both went.
Yeah.
Which is insane to see happen in a 52 car field. Both first place guys go that fast.
It was wild. It was wild.
I was like, man, like the $10,000 one almost sounds more alluring. Like, if I go out there, I'm like, oh, you know, there's that chance to win $100,000, but then there's 1 in 16 chance I win 10.
Yeah, yeah.
The odds are kind of good.
The odds are good to win the 10,000.
Yeah, that was cool that they added that. The Chicago style kind of threw me for a little bit.
It took me a couple hours to figure out like exactly how it was structured, but the way that they put on that event, I liked it. It was a great event.
Yeah, so. Wes Buck did an awesome job on that deal.
Yeah.
He did I think 1320 just walked up.
Nice, have him come on in.
The back.
We'd love to talk to those guys.
Yeah. So your next event, your plans to where do you take your truck now? You're turning it more to street. Is that specifically so you can sign up for drag and drives and
to be and to be competitive?
Yeah.
In it, you know, I want to be able to fit into the slower rules or the slower classes to be more competitive within my budget. So, but then to kind of steer another direction is my next major event is actually with my car. So I have an 89 Dodge Colt with the 4G63 swap.
Front-wheel drive?
All-wheel drive.
All-wheel drive, okay.
Yep, all-wheel drive. And we're looking to get that car into the 4s in the 8th mile this year. So,
there's not many people that have a Colt.
No, it's only
very rare.
There's
vehicle.
like 3 of them out there.
But I guess it's same engine trans and a bunch of other stuff that kind of crosses over.
Same unreliable DSM stuff.
Yeah. Well, there was a DSM that did pretty good on Sick Week.
Yes, Tony did do pretty good, but shout out to Tony. You've got to watch out for Sick Week next year, man, because I'm going to come out swinging. So.
Okay, so now you're are using the same kind of formula. You reach out to some companies, get some parts.
No, I've kind of stepped away from that part of marketing, and as of right now, because I don't need the funding, I guess. Yeah. But come this winter, Q4 of the year, I'll definitely be reaching out to people to try to get funding for next year.
Yeah. So what are like the long-term goals on the Colt then? Just to
next
ET goals, you got mile an hour goals in that thing.
For the Colt, the next year would probably be to run a lot more drag and drive events. Try to just dial it into an 850 because that's what it's caged for.
Yeah. And
just try to go out there. I feel like I'm an analytical person, and I keep track of the stats on the drag and drive community. And I feel if you go out there with an 850 consecutive car in your class properly, you're going to win something.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a consistent 850 car and you can do that every time, you can win a lot of racing in general.
Yeah.
If your car can make it up to every round and run 850s, I tell people that all the time. I had this same conversation with my co-pilot, Sketchyvert.
Yeah.
I'm like, just get your car to run 850s on any surface.
On anything.
And you're good. You'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, you'll have a lot of fun, and you'll be competitive. It's being consistent and showing up to the round, ready to go, is what wins events.
Exactly.
And so I think with the Colt next year, if I can show up to as many drag and drives events as the schedule allows, I think I have a car that'll, be be competitive to it.
So now the Colt, will you kind of pack that thing down with equipment, or will you tow a trailer with that?
I plan on putting a roof rack on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the roof rack's great until you have to unload it constantly. Then it gets a lot less fun.
And we're unloading 4 slicks too.
Yeah.
So I don't know how good it would do towing though. Like, I don't know how good the Colt would do towing.
It's a weird thing, because I want to tow a trailer as well, because after 1 year of unloading and reloading everything, gets real tiring.
Yeah, I can see that. I haven't ever done a drag and drive event without a trailer, so I can't say whichever way to go with it. But I would say, I don't know. I'd have to talk to the guys and see how it'd do towing.
Yeah. Who's doing the wrenching on that thing at the moment?
Raven Fabrication up in Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
They're the ones that are building that.
Isn't Devin up there too with his DSM stuff? Devin.
He's up in the Chicago area. Devin Schultz.
No. I thought with the red one.
Yeah, the Red Demon.
I thought he was in Oregon.
No,
Oregon.
he's up in the Chicago area.
All right, makes sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of we used to, when I was with Garrett, we used to kind of battle it out with them a little bit.
Okay.
That was kind of our unofficial rival.
Gotcha.
He was our rival, but we weren't his.
It
was a weird deal. We were always chasing him.
Yeah.
And that car was always flying. I mean, he was going 6s when we were not even close.
Not even thinking about going 6s.
Yeah, he was already kind of kicking the door in.
Right. Yeah.
Pushed it through.
They have they got their program together in the DSM world. So
what's your what's your strategy then? You sold everything. Where do you plan to eventually kind of permanently set up again? Do you have any desire to set up again? You're just gonna
I don't know.
Tow around a vehicle until it doesn't work anymore?
I'm currently in Indiana.
Yeah.
In the Amish country.
Okay.
That's where the hat comes from.
Yep.
And just kind of hanging out, helping a buddy out at his shop and at his racetrack, and just kind of going from there. I don't really have an idea. Hey guys. No, I don't really have a timeline on when I want to like settle down and get a house or anything like that. It's kind of scary to me to do that, because I've been so mobile for the last 3 years that I enjoy it. So
what's your like setup right now? You have a 44-foot trailer, you said, or 40-foot trailer?
No, that got totaled.
Oh, okay.
that trailer ended up getting totaled in a snowstorm. We ended up, my driving skills aren't very good either, so it got totaled. So now I'm currently living in a 44-foot RV, 4 slide outs, by the way.
Oh, okay. That's
huge upgrade.
Yeah.
Huge upgrade. When I first so the 44-foot car trailer only had like a 300 square foot tiny living quarters, and I lived in it for like 7 or 8 months before I got the RV.
Yeah.
So now the RV with the 4 slide outs is like luxury. Why would I want to? I'm thinking in my head right now, I'm like, why would I want to buy a house? I went from 300 square feet to 700 square feet. I'm like, I had doubled.
I love RVs. They're great. Everything's right there. You can't take a bunch of stuff you don't need. You're kind of forced into, like, if it doesn't fit underneath it,
you're not taking it.
Leave it.
No, it's like every couple months, dude, I'm throwing stuff out because there's too much stuff in there.
You have to. You just have to leave stuff behind, abandon stuff. Yep. It's great. It kind of it's kind of like a fun, almost like a different philosophy mindset where like you have to be minimalistic by force. Yeah. And it's kind of like I don't know. I look at stuff all the time and I'm like, I have too much just like stuff. I'd like to get rid of it all.
You know, material stuff don't really matter in life, I think.
No, it really doesn't.
Unless you need the tool at a racetrack, then it matters.
Tools are one thing. Yeah. But like I mean,
but clutter,
so much clutter.
Yeah.
Just clutter's brain. I don't know how much thought you give to like that side of things, or is it more just like a?
I've had shirts and apparel in the kitchen area of the RV for the last like 8 months, and I think I'm just gonna give them away because I just don't like to clutter there anymore.
Yeah,
so
not needed.
Just like, you know what? I haven't really sold them, so let's just give them away.
Yeah.
So probably the next couple events, if you guys see me, I'll probably be giving away free shirts.
Where's your next move to then? You said you have an event in 10 days.
Yeah, so I'll be down with the Midwest Drag Series down in Ennis, Texas, Ferris, Texas, XRP, Dallas area. So I'll be down there doing coverage for them. My next personal event is going to be Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0, and I'll be bringing the Colt out for that. But other than that, I think 2024 I'll also want to go international.
Okay, so where would you try to get international then? I mean, it seems like Australia is the next bustling drag race.
I think the Colt is going to go to Puerto Rico.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, like send your vehicle international. Okay.
So the Colt is going to go to Puerto Rico. They have a big event, I guess, in the first quarter of the year. I'll have to look into their schedule. But I want to go to India. They have a rickshaw race, and it's with tuk-tuks.
Yeah.
So to describe to the audience what a tuk-tuk is a 3-wheel, 10 horsepower. It's like a 3-wheeled golf cart, really.
Yep.
And we're going to travel 1,800 miles in a 3-wheeled golf cart with 10 horsepower.
It's like a drag and drive, but foreign. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that's going to be my next big show is 2024. We're going to go over to India and do the rickshaw race.
Tuk-tuk, rickshaw.
Dude, if you haven't looked into it, definitely go on YouTube and look up tuk-tuk racing.
I've seen it in Thailand, the videos of that, and they do similar things where whatever's on the islands is what they use.
That's all you got.
Because you're not getting stuff like sent in really, because it's just too unreasonably priced.
Right.
So it's probably, I mean, obviously India is way different, but like it's probably similar where it's like you're not going out and buying a brand new turbo. You're gonna or new parts.
And the organization that we're going with actually provides you with the vehicle. So they provide you with the vehicle. It's a 3-person team, and you have 12 days to go 1,800 miles through mountains, through along the coast, through cities, and I don't know their language, so I'm currently sourcing a local to go with us, and I need an American to go with us, or a local person in India, but also a person over here. So I'm trying to recruit a friend, Cooper.
I mean, shoot, I was about to say that sounds awesome. When are you going?
Well, we're on their emailing list, so it's going to be in the last quarter of 2024. So
okay, well, I mean, shoot, if you need a friend, keep me updated on that one. Because, I will document it.
Well, I'm not good at wrenching, so I need a good friend that would. Well, I guess I don't know how much wrenching there's to do on.
I would imagine they're pretty easy to work on, like wrenching on like a Vespa. I can't, like any small motor is simple at that point.
Are you good at working on your mower?
Yeah. I got a carburetor coming for it right now.
Hey, if you're good at working on the mower, I guess I
like to consider myself just good enough at all tasks to get by, but not great at any one thing. Like I can just do enough to like set up a podcast and actually make it work. I can just do enough to wrench and actually get down the track, but none of it's stellar.
Right. Hey, I don't think in India we're going to need anything too stellar, so.
I can talk with my hands a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe I can kind of.
Well, and that's one reason why I want to recruit a local. And in my logistics business, I do a lot of business with Middle Easterns. So I've been talking to them about trying to find a local over there that is English speaking so we can speak with them.
Yeah.
But they can also speak to the locals in case we get ourselves into a little bit of a pickle.
I'm sure we can be offensive very easily to some locals. I know.
Probably.
Pretty sure Jeremy Clarkson got canceled for something he did in like India or something where he made fun of a cow. I don't think you're supposed to make fun of cows over there. I think there's some touchy stuff. But
I'll note that on my
So
phone.
Is it a local company that does that, or is it like a U.S. company that kind of has a foothold in there?
It's an England company that does it.
Classic English, still have control over India.
It's an English company. And they actually have a bunch of different endurance style racing. Or I don't think it's racing. I think it's just endurance style adventures.
Yeah.
They have one where they give you like a Coleman pit bike.
Yep.
And you go across the desert with it. So there's a bunch of different things that you can sign up for. But yeah, that's my next big adventure, is going over to India to do that.
That'll be an awesome one. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yep.
It'd be fun to bring one back here and try to do a drag and drive with it too. Get a tuk-tuk.
Don't tempt me with the bad time.
Get something like, we even talked about it when I used to drive the mystery machine that Garrett had.
Yeah.
He always wanted to do a drag and drive with that, and I always said that would be terrible. But that's part of the fun of it, almost, is like Tom Bailey does a great job with the Sick Freaks.
Right.
Where he brings out weird combinations.
Yeah.
And that's where you would probably fit in anyways.
You know, you just can't fit in life. You know, if you're not doing something obnoxious or extreme or just wild, then that's my philosophy. Then why do it?
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot less fun. Well, man, I got some awesome information. This is really cool. Where can they follow you to keep up with all this?
Mainly on YouTube. Danny Diesel is my YouTube channel, and on Facebook also, Danny Diesel.
Okay, so Danny Diesel on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram.
Instagram,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so across the board. Do you have any other stories you wanted to share with us before we kind of head out of here?
You know, whenever I am put on, or whenever I'm invited to be on a platform like this, I just really want to tell people, you know, if you can dream it, you can do it.
Okay.
It just takes a lot of hard work, but it's definitely something that you can go out and do. But, you know, don't settle for mediocrity. Don't settle for unhappiness. You know, if you are wanting to go out and do something and you have just the slightest little dream, that dream can turn into, you know, reality. So that's my motto. That's what I'm out here pushing. So, you know, no matter if you're the slowest guy on the racetrack or if you're the fastest guy, just get out there and have fun and just live your life to the fullest.
Good deal, man. Love to hear it. Awesome story. Glad to have you on, man. When you make it back around through your whole adventures, we'll have you back on again, and you can tell us some more of the tales.
Tell you guys all about it.
Yeah, so you can update us. So
I always have a story to tell.
Yeah.
So it's been a great time, and like I said, you know, go out there and live your life, man. There's no need to sit around and do nothing. So
yeah, good deal, man. Yep. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
that was awesome. That was it was a bit of a shorter one, but I think we got through a ton of really cool information.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you.
We will see you next time.
See you then.